New York Times bestselling author Brad Thor has made a career of taking readers on thriller rides that often predate real-world events. After spending time in the top 10 earlier this year with Cold Zero, the book he co-authored with Ward Larsen, Brad is about to publish Choke Point, the 25th novel featuring former Navy SEAL Scot Harvath. It publishes next Tuesday, June the 16th. And Brad Thor joins us from his home in Tennessee. How are you, Brad?
Yeah, I'm great, John. Thanks for having me back.
It's always a pleasure to have you and appreciate you taking the time. When you published Lions of Lucerne in 2002, would you ever have thought that Scot Harvath would still be around 25 books later?
No, I didn't even think I was going to write a second book with him, but the publisher loved him and the early reviews were so huge. They said, you've got to do him as a series character. And so with book two, I thought I was going to be like Michael Crichton, kind of a different protagonist every time. But nope, the marketplace spoke. And now here we are 24 books after Lions of Lucerne.
Is this a mark you've wanted to hit? Did you want to go 5 in, 10 in, 25 in, or has it just been one at a time in your career so far?
It's just been one at a time. I always approach each novel. And by the way, for folks that don't know, I tell people that my books are like the James Bond movies. If there's a new one playing in your local cinema, you can go, and it doesn't matter if you've ever seen a Bond movie before. You get caught up right away. So you could start my books with Choke Point. Yeah, I write one, and every time I'm trying to write the best I can, and I say, if nobody knew me, if I didn't have a publishing contract, would this book be good enough to get me into the door at Simon & Schuster and get me on the New York Times list? So I give every book my absolute all.
And to think, none of this would have happened had it not been for the urging of your wife 25 years ago.
That's right. On our honeymoon, she asked me what I would regret on my deathbed never having done. And I said, writing a novel and getting it published. And she said, okay, when we get home, you're going to start spending 2 hours of protected time every day until that dream comes true. And the rest is history.
That's awesome. It's a great story. I know you told it the first time we talked, but it's a great story that it started there and is continuing in 2026. After having Harvath in the United States for Edge of Honor, was it time to get him abroad again?
Yeah, it was. I wanted to do something. I wanted to kind of go back to vintage Harvath. This is 25, and so I wanted to do something special. I brought back a secret mystery guest character from very early in my career to just make fans shocked, surprised, and really happy. And it was fun, too, because I think this place in the world that I'm writing about in Choke Point is going to be the next flashpoint, if you will. And it may be tomorrow, maybe a week from tomorrow, but I think we're going to start seeing it in international headlines.
And I was going to ask you, where did you come up with, we're not going to talk specifics here, but Far East as opposed to Middle East, as opposed to maybe Russia?
Well, I learned that China had a particular plan for a part of the Far East and tried to implement it once and got shot down. And I said, okay, if the Chinese were desperate, how might they try to bring this plan back around? And why should Americans care about it? And that's what the seed was that gave birth to Choke Point.
You waste no time in bringing us your antagonist. The first 2 words of the book are the guy who we deal with here for more than 350 pages. And this guy, you talk about cold-hearted. I mean, this guy is just nothing but money and destruction, and take it from there.
Well, it's interesting because I wanted to take somebody that started out as a good guy and became a bad guy. So I took somebody from the Navy SEAL community. At one point, they were picking out spectacular explosive ordnance disposal technicians, bomb guys, and inviting them to go through the Navy SEAL training so that they could be just as good as their teammates, but still have this exceptional understanding of bombs. And so I thought, what if this guy was incredible? What if he did something that represented tremendous valor, but got him in trouble on the battlefield and got him kicked out of the SEALs? So he starts as a good guy, becomes a bad guy. And then the neat twist is he was on the same SEAL team as Scot Harvath. So that makes the race even more personal for Harvath to stop this guy.
You've had Harvath go out for personal reasons. You've had him try to rescue Salvi. You've had him read Carlton books and books ago. But this one is pretty much just business. American lives have been lost, and he is brought into this thing. And it's pretty much a business venture here for this guy, as opposed to the love interest, the faith interest in somebody who brought him into the world of espionage.
Yeah, so that's what's neat about getting back to Harvath's roots. So in the aftermath of this incredible thing that happens in Bangkok, the FBI sends its famed evidence response team, but the president then says, I want somebody else on scene, somebody that'll kick over rocks that the FBI can't or won't, and somebody that's not going to be expected to play by the same set of rules the FBI are expected to play by. I want somebody that if we find the bad guys, he can go and nail the bad guys. And that's Harvath's assignment in Choke Point.
We talked a second ago about somebody who came back. We're going to skip the nickname of this guy for our discussion here on the air. But is this somebody who we might see past Choke Point? The last line gives you an idea that he may be around for a book or two.
I think the way I ended Choke Point, I definitely have to play that out in the next book and bring him back. So I think you're the first person to ask me that, John, and you've hit it. Yeah, he's coming back too. And
I'll tell you, again, without giving too much up, you've always had this knack, and I salute you for it, of finding little times when Harvath can break the ice and add a smile here. And the heart attack scene with him and this person you're talking about, it made me laugh out loud.
I didn't even know it was possible to get a heart attack from that, to be honest with you. And it's when people read the book, they'll understand why it's so perfect. But when I learned that, John, I laughed out loud. So I'm thrilled to hear it had that same effect on you.
Oh my gosh, it was hilarious. And I won't even say what caused it. I'll just say the heart attack scene, the byplay for these two guys. You know, and I don't want to call him a sidekick because he's more than that. He's a colleague who you haven't heard from in a while. But boy, the byplay with these two guys really is fun, and it adds that little twitch of humor.
I really am proud of what I did this year. I'm proud every year, but I'm particularly proud of Choke Point. I think it's just a great book for people to take to the pool, the lake, the beach, wherever they're going. Father's Day makes a great gift. And I think it's just a fun ride. I break out a new roller coaster every year. This is my brand new roller coaster, and I hope people love it.
You give readers a constant overview during the book of why the bad guys are doing what they do, because they're trying to figure out, almost like Harvath is trying to figure out. But it took until page 348 for you to bring in today's world events. And then to me, it went, okay, now I get it. Page 348, when you tie it into, I'm going to say this because it's not going to give too much away, the Strait of Hormuz that everybody has heard about for the last 100 plus days.
Yeah, so it's similar to Hormuz. And what's funny is I picked the title Choke Point, and I picked this plot before the whole thing with the Strait of Hormuz happened. So I got really lucky with what I chose. And part of the undercurrent here, what's driving the Chinese is their fear of a separate strait in Asia that the U.S. Navy can close down at will. And the Chinese trying to figure out how they can defang the Americans in this part of the world, the American Navy, to make it impossible for the United States to control Chinese ships passing through that part of the world. That's a small part of what motivates them, but it turned out that is now very much in the news, even though I wrote this before the whole Hormuz thing happened.
Yeah, you have a knack of doing that too. You have a knack of doing books, and then all of a sudden it plays out in real world events. You told us when we talked after Cold Zero back in January about the Netflix potential for a feature film. How is that going along? And do we have any more information about possible Scot Harvath plans for another screen?
Yeah, so I've seen the first two scripts for the Harvath TV series, and that's at Sony Television right now. And then Cold Zero is being turned into a big blockbuster action movie for Netflix. And our screenwriter Nick Pizzolatto, who created True Detective, got great first season with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. Nick is our screenwriter, and he is currently writing Cold Zero, adapting it for this big action movie. And I'm hoping to see the screenplay some point this summer.
Do you get calls during this process, or once you give up and give it to them, is it theirs to work with, or are you contacted at all? Do you have any feedback opportunities?
No, at this point, Nick needs to be allowed to do what Nick does so well, which is to adapt and to write the screenplay. So I have not yet heard from him, but Nick and I have talked in the past. So Nick's got my cell phone number. If Nick's got a question, how would this work? What would the CIA do here? What would the Department of Defense do here? He can always call me. But for right now, I actually have to sit on my hands and let that creative professional do what he does best.
You've often said the thriller writer community is a really tight one. You and Ward co-authored Cold Zero earlier this year, went into the top 10, as we said. Now you both have new thrillers on the market. Do you root for his success, even though both of your books are out there competing for eyes, as it were?
Absolutely. And his book came out, his Clancy book that he did, and I thought that was great that the Clancy estate snapped him up after I got him to co-write a book with me. That just shows you what a good eye for talent I have. He's a fabulous writer, and so I get a great book to read out of it because he did a Clancy book, and I love the Clancy books. And the other thing is there's 365 days in the year, and all of us writers are huge readers, and we don't see each other as competitors. We see each other as colleagues. There's plenty of time to read lots and lots of books. So after you read the Brad Thor books, the Ward Larsen books, then you can just go on from there and find other great thriller writers.
Yeah, Jack Carr, Mark Graney, Don Bentley. There's plenty of time and plenty of eyes in this world to read great books, and they're all great. I mean, there's a run this year of thriller books, almost like I haven't seen before. Every one of these books is just solid from page one to the last page.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's been a really good year. If you're a thriller reader, there's lots of great stuff out there. You can't go wrong.
Choke Point is Brad Thor's 25th thriller featuring Scot Harvath. It publishes next Tuesday, June the 16th. Brad, you're always so gracious with your time. I always appreciate you joining us. And again, Choke Point is a great, great read. I recommend it highly. And we will talk to you soon, Brad. Take care. Good to see you.
You too, John. Thanks.